Hello, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and I am here continuing my reviews for the original Star Trek movies with Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. This is a 1984 film that was directed by Sir Leonard Nimoy himself. The plot is pretty self-explanatory from the title itself, where Captain Kirk and the Enterprise crew are searching for Spock. They get this idea that he somehow, some way could have been resurrected, reincarnated, brought back from the dead through this Genesis project on a different planet. So they're hell-bent on finding said planet and seeing if it happened. Now, it's not that easy, though, because we get this Klingon villain, Krudge, played by Christopher Lloyd, who wants the Genesis as well. Now, what I thought of this movie was... Look, I didn't hate this movie, but I didn't love this movie either. I wanted to get into this, especially because of how much I enjoyed Wrath of Khan. It was so great. It was so perfect in so many ways. At the same time, how could this follow that, right? It wasn't going to be as good. I guess not. But I did enjoy the beginnings of this movie. Let's talk about that, the good stuff, where William Shatner as Captain Kirk, you see him struggling with Spock's death. Everybody's taking it in different ways. He, in front of the crew, is very much like in control and like, look, it happened, but we have to move on and this and that. But behind closed doors, he's emotional. He's a wreck. He's not taking this well. And when he finds out, just like the crew, that it's possible that Spock could somehow, some way be out there, they're like, fuck yeah, let's find this out. Now, after that, when they had to go through the higher-ups at Starfleet and how they were denying them permission to go to the planet and search for him, and it was all this rigmarole of I didn't really care, honestly, about any of it. And then when you got to the villain, who, like I said, is played by Christopher Lloyd, he's a Klingon. And Klingons are a race of aliens from Star Trek, their mythology, that I have heard so much about. And in fact, the Klingon language, which is completely made up, people, Star Trek fans, have learned this fake language because they're so into it. So I'm like, okay, this is my first Klingon. This is me experiencing, especially from the original series, a Klingon race for the first time. Let's see what I'm in for. And honestly, I wasn't impressed. There was nothing about these Klingons that was like, wow, okay, now I get it. Now I get how cool they are. Sure, it was cool to see Christopher Lloyd playing the main villain, especially 1 year before Back to the Future. But I wasn't impressed with, like, the villain plot. It was pretty generic and cliched, and just, there was nothing special about this race. I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't get anything special. As far as the other cast goes, you have everybody. Some of them get more to do here. Like, Scotty gets a lot to do. Chekhov is kind of just here. Sulu gets a cool moment where you see him out of the ship and he gets to fight some people. That was cool. Uhura, look, she got a couple of extra scenes here, but for the most part, all Uhura does, really, is tell Kirk that they've lost communications to the fleet or to the Academy, or they can't communicate with the other ship. Or, like, she does virtually nothing. I get if there's people who are, like, really fans of the original Uhura and love her, but maybe it's just because I've seen the reboot, and they do so much with Zoe Saldana as this character, that seeing the original, I'm like, wow, there's nothing to her. There's no dimension, there's no real personality. I don't know if maybe this original actress isn't the greatest, and I'm sure I will get lynched from original fans for saying that, but I don't know. She does nothing for me, really. Bones get some cool and weird stuff at the same time going on. But let me now talk about Spock. Leonard Nimoy returning as Spock. Clearly, them letting him direct this movie, I'm sure, was big. And there's a lot of build-up to seeing Leonard Nimoy back as Spock. I will admit that. But I didn't like how they handled Spock, or the resurrection of Spock. It just seemed like this whole him being reborn and seeing him as a baby, and then as a kid, and then as a teenager, and then as a young adult, like all in the span of, I don't know how many hours in the movie it happens, but it seemed pointless. It's not like we learned anything about him as a person, or see how he was as a child that differs from him older, or maybe they recasted Kirstie Alley, so this character raising him for a little bit, or taking care of him for a little bit on this planet while he's young. You think maybe he's going to grow up to change because he's being raised differently here, or something, but no! He gets his memory back at the very end, and I guess he's going to become the Spock we knew, and it seemed all pointless. Now, you could have resurrected him in a cool way where he just kind of came back as what we last saw him. I just don't understand the whole rebirth and re-aging thing. That didn't make any sense to me. Now, the Genesis project, I mean, it's my fault that I now think of Genesis with the Y, and I think of Terminator. That's all on me, sure. But at least this was something that they set up in the last movie, and it had some weird connotation of just how powerful this was and what it could do. And you had two ships going towards it, two groups wanting it. So that was fine. The moment where I got back into the movie, though, because for the most part that middle chunk was a little boring, and I had so many questions that weren't getting answered. I was starting to check out until the part where the Klingons beam their way onto the Enterprise, and Kirk, like a badass, tricks them, has a bomb there, blows them up, blowing up the Enterprise, by the way, so that kind of sucks. But just, that was really cool. I like how he outsmarted them and got one up on them. And then at the very end, we get an end battle, an end fight between Kirk and Christopher Lloyd. And it's a fist fight. They're going at it, which was fine. Sure, the last movie, Khan and Kirk had no interaction. It's amazing how they were able to keep that tension, keep him as such a strong villain without ever having them face-to-face or fighting. Again, great. But you can't do that again. You can't keep that up with a villain that honestly isn't as interesting. So you have to have them fight. I got a little reminiscence of Revenge of the Sith with them fighting on a planet that was destroying itself, so there was volcanoes and lava everywhere. Sure, maybe the effects weren't as good, but it was still there. So I came back towards the end. It got a little bit more interesting, but still, overall, I didn't love this movie. I didn't hate it. I don't think it's terrible, but I just don't really think the movie is all that special. I can't say I liked it. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what am I missing? Do you agree with me, disagree with me? If you think I'm missing something, please explain it to me. I will take it. No problem. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!